Penny Jake, the tribe has spoken.
Fuck you, Kevin.
Aw, fuck you too, sweetie.
I'm JJ, one of the original Tribe of Nerds members. You can catch me on Marvel, Pokemon, and other gaming podcasts.
What up? It's Josh, resident superhero nerd, but I also dabble in the occasional super villain as well.
Some may know me as the Chaos Gremlin, but really I'm just Joe King.
Pikachu, use Volt Tackle! Good job, Pikachu!
On the Tribe of Nerds.
Let's just take a minute. Shirtless Sawyer, yay for me!
Didn't realize we had Hercules.
Sawyer, marry me. Pick me.
And then you probably say Shannon sucks every other breath. That devious smile.
It's a friendly smile. I love it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. Gregg, Kevin, Kristin, Michael, and I are here for Lost, episode 16, Outlaws. So let's talk about this episode, this Sawyer-centered episode. Kristin's very happy about that.
I'm so happy.
I'm just happy that when we get to favorite character, she'll have an actual reason to pick him this time. It'll be based on substance.
And she can't pick Shannon because she wasn't even in the episode.
Yeah,
That's so funny that you bring that up because that was one of my fun facts. Thank God we didn't have to see this useless, crazy person just complaining all the time. She wasn't even in a background. Like, this is the best episode. You get Sawyer and no Shannon. Yay me.
Shannon and Boone were just...
I'll let you get it out because you have no reason to talk about it for the rest of the episode. So
I know.
can just relax.
That's why I was in the beginning of my fun facts here. So that was one of my fun facts. Another fun fact here. The Boston Red Sox had actually won the World Series by the time that this had aired. Whoopsie. But yes, they did. They actually won the 2004 World Series. So this had aired. Obviously, they filmed this before they had won, but it did not air until actually after they had won. So a kind of an oopsie, but totally understandable reason why. And this is the first time Sawyer reveals his first name, being that it is James. So
I thought either if that was a fake name he was giving or it was his actual name. I was like,
well, whether it's fake or real,
right?
We have a name to go by.
yes. So
those are my fun facts. But Michael, you have a fun fact too, don't you? About an actor.
We also had a huge guest star in this episode, Robert Patrick, as Hibbs, Terminator 2, and he's in Peacemaker and a bunch of other things. So yeah, okay. Robert Patrick was in this episode.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really cool. So it's nice to bring like guest stars, bring decently bigger names into a show, like for these flashback scenes where they can happen. So
he fits so well in the Sawyer story.
He did, yeah. Gregg, you got a fun fact too, right?
Yeah. So this is actually Claire's first episode of being a full-time permanent cast member. She was only credited up until this point when she appeared in the show. This is also the first episode after the first 9 episode order. I don't understand how that, or 13 episode order. It was the first of the final 9 episodes to be picked up for the full season. I don't know how their math works with 16 being the episode number, but that's what it is.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy to me that they didn't like pick her up at the beginning with everybody else. It's wild.
And like, what a shame. We've already talked about how amazing her acting is. So
yeah.
Crazy.
A great screamer.
She gives Jamie Lee Curtis a run for her money in Scream Queen.
I do not have a fun fact to share. I got nothing.
Well, I mean, basically, you're here just to say "F you, John Locke," right? That's basically.
Well, he does have a real dumb story in this one.
Amazing.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
Makes a made-up story.
Oh my god, I hate them. I just sometimes. All right, so getting into the episode, we start off with our flashback of a little boy being woken up by his mom. She's like, "Come on, you gotta hide. He'll still think you're at your grandparents' house." We obviously hear a man in the background, very irate, not happy. She puts him under the bed. She says, "Do not say anything. Do not come out. You are to stay hidden no matter what happens." Hugs him. "I love you." He says, "I love you." Goes under the bed. To which we then see Dad and her. Well, we don't see it. We hear it, I should say. That's better words. Them arguing. He breaks into the house. She's like, "What are you doing? Why are you here?" We hear her say, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing with that gun?" Gunshot goes off. She's no longer screaming. Poor little kid is under the bed. This is like the most traumatic thing I think that we can witness here. Because then obviously this is where we do see Dad comes into the room, sits on the bed, and then shoots himself. Obviously this was the Sawyer episode. This is what he was talking about in his letter. I know we're going to get into that. I want to go kind of back on Violent because it ties into it. But when we go back to this, we have to like really dive deep into this. Obviously, that brings us to Sawyer in the tent here. He is shirtless. Thank you. Yes. You can pause it if you need to, guys. Like that's the moment to pause. But he is in his tent.
We had the dick move counter. Could we have like a running like Kristin thirst counter?
Yeah.
Series? Would that be a good idea?
There's gonna be a lot. There will be a lot.
Oh, there's been a lot, yeah.
I'm sure we've had it every single episode so far.
Look at the man. You can't help yourself. But anyway, he has woken up to a boar in his tent. He obviously takes off. He shines a light on it. The boar takes off with his tarp. And he follows him into the jungle. It is at nighttime, obviously. And he goes out into the jungle and hears what we are hearing as whispers, which we know that we've heard this before. This is like a topic of conversation. What's going on? I don't know if anybody actually could make that out at this point. Jake, did you make out what the whispers were saying at this point?
I did not. I think maybe it would take like a rewatch for me to really pick them out. But I guess from the flashback I picked up, I mean, this is obviously Sawyer as a kid, I would guess, in this flashback, right? Or are we not meant to? Okay. I thought I would assume so, but you don't know, but I mean, this show can play tricks. But I mean, it was an interesting opening. Again, gets you hooked in right away as to what's happening, and like then the boar running off with the tent is a kind of funny picture, and Sawyer looks like Hercules running after.
Again,
Sawyer was sleeping in jeans. Like what?
Can you lay off my man in his jeans? Like he's hot. Okay, like just let it happen. Also, we do see that the next morning Saeed has come to poke fun at him. Their little banter, and then of course Saeed gives out yet another nickname. It's like part of his thing. But we do see Saeed kind of poking fun at him, and then he goes to walk off, and Sawyer asks him about these whispers. He's like, "What did you hear?" And he's like, "Well, I was delirious. I was tired, And he's like, "What did you hear?" And he goes, "Why? Did you hear something? What did you hear?" To which Sawyer doesn't like tell him really anything, and that's kind of where we're gonna end this first section so we can talk about it. But like,
communicate.
I don't understand. Listen, Sawyer is a complicated man. All right, he wasn't ready to talk about it. He wasn't ready to talk about it. But yeah, so going back to this, to the whispers thing, Kevin, Gregg, Michael, did you guys pick it up on your first watch? Did you hear what was said? Or do you only know it now?
I only caught it.
I watch everything with subtitles, so yes, I did.
Cheat. That's a cheat. Michael, do you want to tell everybody what it said since you had the subtitles on?
Yeah, the whisper, the very last. There's lots of little whispers that aren't very easy to make out, but the last one kind of comes in a bit clearer. It says it'll come back around, which is the final words of the guy the guy that wasn't Sawyer that Sawyer killed, if that makes sense.
Oh, Frank.
Poor old Frank, yes.
Shrimp Man.
Shrimp Man. Diving back into this though, like going back to this flashback, I mean, Jake, you kind of brought this up, but like to think about, like you mentioned, like I'm assuming this is Sawyer, but like even not knowing that it is Sawyer, like what were your thoughts in this kind of opening scene with this kid and this family?
Well, it's heartbreaking that as a kid, like, or just, any kid just has to, witness that something bad is happening and they have to hide under the bed and they literally have to hear their mom getting shot and, like, then basically have, like, the killer who is supposedly their dad shoot himself, like, right above him. Like, that is terrifying and traumatic, and you can completely understand why Sawyer turned out the way he did from what he went through there.
Honestly, it could have been worse. That's some like Dexter level trauma. He could have ended up going down the Dexter route. But also, it's just the trauma of like where the scene cuts. Like the poor kid had to get out from under that bed, and like, then what the hell does he do? Like, what a horrible scene.
Yeah. Like that he has to crawl out from under the bed from behind his dad's legs, and like, it's terrible. It's terrible. What that Sawyer's obviously a dick, but like, this is why he's a dick.
Can you blame him?
Right.
It's such a dark scene, really.
Yeah.
I'm here for the darker scenes. Like that's my favorite part of this show is the dark stuff, the dark episodes, the ones that give you lots of complexities on the characters. You now kind of understand why Sawyer is the way he is.
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously for me, I just wanted to hug him in that moment. But no, with this specific episode is though, like you see time and time again that Sawyer is this jackass, but he's very much still like that kid hiding under the bed. He has those moments where you can just really tell that he's just hurting beyond hurting because of all this trauma that he has experienced just from that one night.
Like in the very next scene when he's afraid to even say what he heard.
Right. So yeah, I think that stems and kind of like Gregg was mentioning, gives us even more into the complex character that is Sawyer. And it's just, I can't even imagine, a kid seeing all those things that they had to see. And then obviously all the emotion now that goes back into that letter he wrote, like, that emotion behind that now. Like, so I think that this first flashback gave so much context into Sawyer and Sawyer's life.
Before we move on from this little section as well, can I just say how much I'm here for Sassy Saeed? Like,
yes,
he's so much fun.
Always.
It's the most fun he's had on the island, just watching Sawyer like be pissed off about this boar. He has the biggest smile on his face.
Yeah, Saeed has said like some of the sassy quips over the last like few episodes, like even like towards Shannon and like some of the other and Boone, and I feel like a lot of the other characters, and it's just so funny coming from Saeed. So
I love when he's like, "You're enjoying yourself," and he's like, "Yes, I am." Yeah, so that leads us into our flashback number 2. We see Sawyer about to get it on, but he is interrupted by Gibbs. She's like, "Who the hell is this weirdo sitting in the dark?" And he's like, "Just go down to the bar. I'm gonna deal with this guy."
I love that she is just another con. Like, she's just another Mark. Like, she doesn't even get a name.
She doesn't even get a name. Uncredited girl 500 for Sawyer. Yeah. But yeah, so he tells her to go back down to the bar. He's going to handle and get rid of him, and then he'll find her later. And so then he gets the girl out of the room. He obviously goes and promptly throws Gibbs up into the wall and says, "I thought I told you last time I'd see you, I would kill you." And he's like, "Well, I've got something for you. Got you a present." And he's like, that's going to make the difference. And he's like, "Actually, it will. Here's this nice little envelope for you." He goes and fixes himself a drink as he tells the story of, "Hey, remember how you were searching for that guy that you got your name from? Well, we found him. And he's in Australia. And he's working the shrimp truck. And he used to go by Sawyer. And now he's retired. He used to be a con man, all these things." He's given him everything that Sawyer needs in this moment. And he's like, "Okay, this him? Like, in the picture, he's like, this him? And he's like, yep. And so, obviously, that leads us to why Sawyer was in Australia. That gives us his story of how he got there. And then, obviously, back on the island, we have Jack and Kate putting the guns away, -1, because, surprise, surprise, he has not given back his gun. And we also have Charlie and Claire. Like, this moment was so sweet, and Charlie, Charlie, don't be a jerk. I know you're dealing with some stuff, but, like, she came out, she's like, I had a dream about you last night. Like, you want to go talk about it? And he's like, can't, busy. And she's like, oh, wait, okay, wait, you said no? Like, I was giving you an in here. I know. So, but also it's so funny that you guys are like, what is he making? Obviously we see later on he's making the shovel that he buries Ethan with. We also get the whispers, number 2 that we hear this time with Sawyer out there. We get the boar attack, and he's done. He's like, this boar, I'm going out after this boar. I'm so sick of it. Like, this is the second time he's attacked me. I'm over this. We're going to get some boar tonight. Like, I don't know where Boone and Sawyer or Boone and Locke have been, but I've got the boar, and we're eating boar tonight because now I'm mad. So that that was where we kind of got the next kind of section here of the episode. Jake, what were your thoughts on Gibbs, like this random dude giving him everything he ever needed in this moment?
Yeah, I thought that this was a bit interesting to come and give Sawyer his mark, and like to have this be how Sawyer gets to Australia. I do wonder, I don't know if it's too much of a spoiler or whatever, the fact like that's how we see in, what was it, 13, of Sawyer being in the police station getting, taken back when Boone is there. So I almost feel like that's what ended up happening there, but I could be wrong. It's definitely interesting, and like obviously we're gonna see that he's got the wrong guy. Evidently, that this poor man who's just making shrimp, the fry cook, is literally completely innocent. So, just sucks.
Yeah.
Just sent him on a revenge mission against someone who just owed him money. But I do love on the island stuff with Petty and frustrated Sawyer. Like, Petty Sawyer is the best Sawyer, where he's just on this rampage against just a boar.
I like that we are finding out that John Locke and Boone are idiot liars, and they're catching on to like, wait a second. If there's a boar going through his camp, I thought there was no more boar around here. I thought they all left this valley. So, good. They're all catching on.
Literally just wandering in the camp. That's how easy they are to find.
I thought you guys might be hungry. You go ahead and eat me.
Like taking their stuff and there's so many around. They can freely walk into camp in the middle of the night.
Yeah, they're multiplying. They've got such an easy life out here.
Right. Gregg, anything on this section?
No, not too much. I do think we should name the boar Kevin, because the boar flat out says "fuck you, Sawyer" the entire time he's messing with him.
Good.
If that boar was torturing John Locke, I would be all for it.
Actually, I do have one thing. Y'all were wrong. She has a name, and her name is Mary Jo.
Oh, okay.
We go.
Oh, okay.
One of the many important thing. Yeah, the important thing to me was that this is just Sawyer's thing. Sawyer found a new woman to try to con out of money.
Mm-hmm.
The important thing to me is that it was not me, so I'm not happy about that. But
what? I'm just gonna make funny. I was gonna say, what money would he con you out of?
I mean, he wouldn't. That's why it would literally just be a good time for us in the bedroom.
Yeah, Kristin just wanted Sawyer to carry her.
There's no money here, Sawyer, but like bedtime fun, sign me up.
She just wants to play I Never.
Yes, I do want to play I Never. Anyway, all right.
I had an unreasonable crush on a fictional character. Drink, Kristin.
that gives us to our next flashback. Sawyer is obviously going over to buy the gun that he is going to use to kill what he believes is Sawyer, OG Sawyer, I should say. And obviously he has kind of a talk with the guy. He's like, "Hey, you guys aren't, supposed to have guns here." He's like, "I'm not gonna rat you out." He's like, "Okay, but also if you can't do it, there's no refund policy." He's like, "Won't be a problem. Like, we're fine." I think in this moment, there wasn't much in this flashback, but I think it goes to show again, like back to Sawyer with the shrapnel dude, our whatever he's called,
The Marshal.
Marshall. Thank you. Why I could not think of that word. Even then, like we talked about that in that episode, that Sawyer kind of came at Jack like, you don't have the guts to be the killer, you know what I mean? And so, but we saw with Sawyer then too, he didn't really have the guts either. So it's kind of coming back around of like Sawyer having these moments again where I bring up that he is very, very confident, but at the end of the day, he's still this little scared kid under the bed. So I think that kind of just shows again him being, "Oh, I'm Sawyer. I have no problem with this. Like, we're good to go." So his cockiness a little bit. But going back to the island, is where we have a little bit more going on to the island here. We see Charlie and Hurley burying Ethan. We see that Hurley is a little bit worried for Charlie in this moment of like, you kind of just like killed a guy. He's like, "You deserve to die. There's a bad guy. Like, I'm good, y'all. Like, I'm fine." We do see that Hurley goes over to talk to Saeed about it. To say, "Hey, maybe we should check in on Charlie." Again, like all these things that nobody ever thinks, like Charlie and Claire have been through these massive traumas and nobody ever checks on them. It's mind blowing to me. But yeah, so he does go and check on him. He obviously is, Charlie's saying, "I'm fine." He does tell him like, this will be with you forever. He goes into his story of his first person that he killed and does have that moment with Charlie. Which is, it was a very good moment for Saeed, I feel like, and Charlie in this moment, because Charlie does need, like, this shouldn't be looked over. This was a, kind of another traumatic experience. We had crazy dude, and shooting him and all those things. But the best part of this on island is the I never. I love it. It's so cute. It's flirty. It's like they're having fun until they're not. Then they start taking jabs at each other. It's like, guys, we're drinking. We're having fun. Maybe let's like not be too serious here, but we're getting a lot of information. I don't know if anybody picked up on all these things. We find out that Kate had been married. She says not for very long. We find, about him killing the man, which we're going to get to, but all these like didn't go to college, didn't go to Disneyland. So some of them are more fun. Some of them are a little bit more heated. He even takes a stab of like, you made up a whole thing just to hang out with me because I'm the only one that gets you. She brings up, of course, his past trauma. Well, I'm not carrying around a stupid letter. And I'm like, "Kate, girl, like, chill out. Not fair." But we also have, I'm going to stop it there actually, because the next morning I want to talk about the dream and the dog story a little bit. But what were your guys' thoughts on this whole burying Ethan, the PTSD of it all, the I never?
Yeah, I thought the burying Ethan was funny when Hurley's like, he might wake up and try to kill us again. I was like, what is this, Scream? They wake up for one last scare. Yeah, so that was pretty funny. And then the Never Have I Ever. This was a great moment between Kate and Sawyer, like some great character work and just having this like, natural conversation, getting to know each other and also kind of taking jabs at each other. So I really enjoyed this. I think the relationship between them, we can kind of see where it might go. Although Kate's like, basically, is she gonna end up going with Jack at some point, or is she going to go with Sawyer? I think that's kind of a question that I'm sure we'll see that decision get made in the future. So
she can just go with Jack. I'll have Sawyer. It's fine. Anybody
I like the little line that she says when she's like, "Where'd you get those?" He's like, the cart from the plane. She's like, "Jack's been looking for that." Like, like, Jack, if you've been looking for something, you know who to talk to. Like, I don't understand the question.
Right.
And he's probably looking for it because like it's alcohol, like it's like it has potential use, and he's just drinking it.
It's main use.
I don't understand why more people aren't hanging out with Sawyer. He's obviously got all the goods. He's got the drinks. He's got the magazines.
Listen,
he's got all of it.
Maybe you can't see it because you're in love with him. He's traumatized and not the nicest person, Kristin.
I think he's hilarious.
I didn't say he was unfunny. I said he's not the nicest person.
I mean, he's pretty nice. It's just people don't understand how to read him.
Let's just move on, Kevin. We're not going to get through.
You're not going to.
I want to talk about the whole Saeed, Charlie, Hurley stuff as well, because that was one of my favorite parts of the episode, because it just Hurley's this just funny character, and he's often there just to lighten the mood and have these funny scenes. But I love when you get a bit more seriousness out of Hurley, where it's like the look on his face when he's like watching Charlie and he's concerned about his friend, and such a perfect person to go talk to is Saeed. Like that, Hurley deals with this situation like amazingly. He's like, Saeed will know what to do about this. He was in the Republican Guard, and like bringing Saeed into it, and that whole conversation between Saeed and Charlie, I just love that whole thing. And you know, Saeed empathizing with Charlie, and Charlie not really selling that he's affected by it, but you know, Saeed saying like, look, I killed someone who deserved to die too, but you still killed a man. It's something that's going to be with you. I love that whole story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hurley's definitely good at like Jack and Sawyer, and like a lot of them are like big personalities who go out and hunt and they fight, and you like Hurley doesn't do those things, but Hurley is definitely somebody who like he listens to people, he pays attention to people, he remembers things. So like, oh, I'm noticing this thing is a problem with this person. Like, who can I talk to about that? And he knows because he's talked to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like the best social. Going back to Survivor, he'd be like the best social player of the show.
Yeah,
definitely.
These are my two favorite scenes from the entire episode, because like Hurley, you know, he's not super connected, but everything that's going on in the island, like what everybody else's drama is, like he knows what happened to Ethan. He doesn't know exactly, because he quoted that Charlie shot him 4 times, but he actually shot him 6. Like it shows that he's not 100% connected with everything that's going on, but he's still compassionate and caring enough to understand that there is something serious wrong with Charlie, and does, like Michael said, go to the right person to talk to about it. I don't think Jack, even with his medical training, would understand quite as much as Saeed would. And then my issue with the last episode was that they didn't give you enough. But this one, it's literally like garbage of stuff coming out of people's mouths, like nonstop. There's tons of information being dropped in this Sawyer and Kate scene. It's just, it absolutely ties everything in really well for the rest of the episode. And I don't know what's going on with my camera. I tried fixing it. It's just going to keep doing this.
We're getting dramatic loss zooms. It's good.
Right. I do want to bring up before we get to our flashback with kind of the most sorry, I'm losing my voice. The most information that we got from the flashbacks, but we have Sawyer having a dream, obviously, after their late night of I Never. He wakes up from a dream that is him back as that little kid under the bed, but this time it's the boar that's coming in. He wakes up and the boar has taken an unnecessary and kind of unfair shot at my man Sawyer. It's so unfair here. Kate's things are completely fine. We also see that Locke is just out there, and it's like, oopsie, we caught your boar. What are you doing out here? He's like, oh, I was just looking for stuff from the plane. You know, I saw your guys' tracks. I thought I would come to say hi. Let me tell you about a story. I do want to bring up the story because I think all of us may or may not be on the same side here. I know Kevin hates Locke, so he's going to go on one side. But he does tell a story about his sister that died when she was a little girl. She fell off the monkey bars, broke her neck. His mom, foster mom, he says, blames herself for, you know, this little girl's death. She's not doing really well. People are starting to talk. Neighbors are like a little concerned. But then we have a dog, a golden retriever, come up into the house, stared at the mom for the longest time, and then ends up sleeping in the little girl's room, and on her bed up until the mom dies, and then this dog disappears and leaves. We do see Kate going like, "Do you think that the dog was your sister?" And he's like, "Well, no, of course not. That'd be silly." But that's what my mom thought. So I mean, I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on this because I think we're gonna have some different fun views here. So Jake, kick us off. Where are you with the dog story? Are you a reincarnation, like needed that, or was that just a completely strange coincidence that just so happened? Or are you gonna be on Kevin's side that that was a complete bullshit story and it never happened?
I mean, it could be a coincidence. I don't know. Locke seems to know more than he lets on, or maybe thinks he knows more than he lets on. I, I can see Kevin's point because I feel like Locke is definitely just spewing BS sometimes. He's manipulative, as I've said, as well. So, I mean, that smile at the end was a cross between friendly and devious. So, it could go either way. But, yeah, I'm interested. I mean, we should have a counter of like how many BS stories we think John Locke has told. Like,
I feel like you're being swayed. If you were watching this without Kevin going in the background whenever he spoke, you would not have this opinion of Locke. It's
okay,
someone else
Kevin.
speak.
I mean, maybe Kevin is the Emperor Palpatine then.
Yes.
So, Michael, coming to you then, do you feel that this story, obviously you don't feel that this is a BS story, but do you err on that this was an actual reincarnation, that she came back as this dog to, be there for the mom? Or is it just something she wanted to believe in, like Locke is saying that it was just something she needed?
Yeah, I mean, it would be so. I don't believe in any of that stuff. I'm about as atheist as it comes. But like I get Locke's interpretation of it, and I like that he, I don't know, understands that whether or not it was or it wasn't is irrelevant. It helped his foster mother cope with what she was going through, and again, Locke having this ability to just, by some kind of island magic, have an understanding of the situation where, like, Sawyer is going through this thing. It'll come back around being whispered to him in the night, and this boar is tracking him down and attacking him. So it's like, could the boar be a reincarnation of Shrimp Man? It's a parallel that is going through both these stories, and Locke is the perfect character to bring that comparison up. And I do believe his story. I have no reason not to believe his story. And also, John Locke is a fantastic storyteller. I get to sit and listen to him tell stories all day long. Best character of the show.
Gregg, before we already know where Kevin's going to go. So before he does that, Gregg, what are your thoughts on this story?
I mean, John Locke is clearly insane. Like, he showed up on the island with a box full of knives. He
was going on a walkabout,
preying on innocent people nonstop. But I don't understand why you would have to lie about a story like that. So I'm going to have to say that it was real, or at least in his mind, because, I mean, Helen was real in his mind even after, call girl Helen.
Okay, so here's the thing. I think that the story is at best embellished, right? Like, she fell off the monkey bars and broke her neck. Like, and like, it just,
you don't know.
The foster mom only lived for 5 more years. Like, there's a lot of details to it that I'm like, it's possible. But I think it's at least embellished. I will say, as much as I hate John Locke, and I would say fuck you, John Locke. No, like, similar to Michael, I went to Catholic school for 13 years. I have since in my life decided that is just not for me, but I still very much respect people who have religious beliefs, because I have seen that, like, regardless of my thoughts on it, it does help a lot of people. Like it helps my mom, right? So like I still very much respect it, even though it is not for me. And so similarly, like I think that's kind of the point of the story, is that like whether or not Locke believed it was his sister, like the foster mom did, and that helped the foster mom. And I think that's the point of the story. So
I'm not second to appreciate that you're agreeing with John Locke, because John Locke had the same thought. He knew it wasn't real, but he respected that it helped his mother. So thank you, Kevin. I'm so glad we're on the same page for once. So happy.
So it's still fuck you, John Locke, for the fake story. But I mean, and then of course the point here is that like, well, Sawyer, like you think it's targeting you because you think it has a reason to. So like is that helping you? Like, how does that apply to you? And once you break that down, like, do you still think it's real? Which I think when we fast forward to the end of the story, we realize he has the realization that like, no, like, so fuck you, John Locke. But like, this is one of the this is like a lowercase fuck you.
Also, like the whole Sawyer thing. Sawyer has all the stuff. If the boar's going to target anyone, it's going to target the guy that has literally all the stuff.
And the thing is John doesn't have to know what Sawyer is thinking, like who Sawyer is thinking the boar represents, right? But like he knows that Sawyer has made some enemies, right? We all know Sawyer has made some enemies. Like, look at the way he treats people on the island. He's obviously made some enemies along the way. So like, well, Sawyer, do you think that this is someone who is trying to get back at you? Like, who do you think this represents? And like, is that helping you to cope with this situation?
So to bring up this story, this watch for me kind of took an emotional turn for me, because just last year, I mean, we're coming up on a year now. I lost my cat, which was like my literally everything. I'll try not to cry, but not even a month later, I was on Facebook and this dog appeared and needed a home. And there was something in the eyes of this dog that I can't explain. And so we went and got him. His name is Teddy. But the similarities, he's the cutest thing ever. But so fun fact about my cat Babsy, she had a broken tail when she was a baby, and so it was crooked. Teddy also has a crooked tail, so I think it's like really weird. I do really think that in this moment, that this is actually a thing, and it's not. I don't think that, like, I'm not saying my cat is now a dog, so nobody thinks that I'm that weirdo. But I think that Teddy was sent to me. Like, Teddy was sent to me to help me with my grief over Babsy, and it's those similarities that, like, okay, like, why does Teddy have a crooked tail? Like, there's no reason other than that would have been my connection to Babsy to let me know it's okay to grieve me, but also still love. And so with that, like, Teddy, I think, again, the story is so powerful because it is true, because that it does help those people in those moments. And whether or not, any of it's true, if John Locke made it up or if he embellished it or anything like that, it's such a powerful story for not only Sawyer in that moment, because we already know that he's dealing with it, but also for the audience too, because like how many times have people needed that? Like I said, for me, like I've watched this series so many times. I've never had the reaction that I've had to it that I did this time watching it around, because it literally happened to me. So I wanted to talk about that story because I thought it was a beautiful thing to bring up, really, as much as Kevin hates Locke. So with that, let's go into yes. Let's go back to our flashback, which gives us probably the most information of all the flashbacks that we got in this episode. We see that Sawyer has arrived to the shrimp truck to come face to face now with the person that has ruined his life. In this moment, you see ruined his life. But honestly, like, he turns around. Sawyer, again, this little kid, you can see how hateful he is. But again, he can't even talk. He's that fearful little boy again, to be like, you're the reason why my dad killed my mom and killed himself. Like, and to finally where Frank has to snap him out of it and be like, hello, what are you ordering, you idiot? And he's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I'll take the hot shrimp. He, obviously talks to him about being, American and all these other things. We see Sawyer take out the gun. They're just kind of, Frank's back there having a field day, like just making up the lunch, and Sawyer's going through like emotional hell right now, and Frank has no idea. We do see Frank turn around, and Sawyer is now gone and leaving. Frank's like, okay, I guess I'll eat it. Like, whatever. So we see Sawyer in a bar. We see him taking shots. This scene is I can't wait to talk about this scene with you guys. This scene is obviously so powerful in so many ways, but we see him in there. Obviously, he's drinking. He's just like, again, emotional hell this guy's going through right now. And this guy starts talking to him, and, he buys him a shot as well. And lo and behold, it's Christian Shepherd, Jack's dad. He obviously doesn't know Jack. He would never know that he's about to meet Jack. But he's sitting here talking with Christian. And, the thing about this moment, which is so obviously, which helps us, is that Red Sox never win the World Series line. But I really want to take the time with you guys to talk about how powerful Christian's moment is he's sitting here going, my son sitting at home, he thinks that I hate him. He thinks that he did wrong to me, which we do know that Jack from his flashback was going through all of that. Like, I haven't spoken to my dad. Why am I going to Australia to go get him? And, mom even playing into this, like, you ruined our lives. And we hear from Christian himself that that's not the case. That is definitely not the case at all. He is thankful that Jack did that. He saved him, like, all these things. And the part that's just is so, like, emotional as he goes, there's a payphone right there. I could literally just call him and pick it up, but I can't do it. So Sawyer, which it's not Sawyer, but Sawyer, well, the thing that you need to do, ease your suffering, because I can't ease my own suffering. Will yours do it? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, then go do it. You have to do it. So I want to take this moment here with you guys, because golly, there's so much to unpack here, and it's emotional. So who wants to start?
I'll start. So I mean, I thought I didn't recognize it was his dad until, like, obviously it showed him. Like, I didn't recognize the voice at first, and then I was like, oh my God, they actually are tying this back together now. So I found this really, really cool, really, really interesting. I was wondering, because I also forgot, like, how Jack's dad died. So I'm like, oh, is he the man that Sawyer ends up killing for whatever reason? But that obviously wouldn't have made sense. So, but yeah, I mean, just to tie it back, and, like, we're gonna get that it's gonna connect Sawyer to Jack and realize that, he'd heard about Jack already before even reaching the island. So I found that really, really interesting. And again, we can talk about fate again, is that, he's fated to be connected to Jack in some way from, like, before they set foot there. So
yeah.
I was gonna say, before I want to go back to the truck, because I remember watching this and thinking that he knew, like, because obviously we know from watching the end of the episode that, like, that's not really him, right? Like, the man in the shrimp truck is not the actual Sawyer, but we didn't know that watching it live, like, as it's unplaying. I thought he knew Sawyer had the gun, and he was just, like, trying to, like he figured out, like, oh, this person is like trying to get me back for something I did, and I'm trying to, like, talk him out of it. And I was like, oh God, what's gonna happen? It was very tense to watch that scene. I was like, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it? He can't do it. He's our Sawyer. He can't do it. But, like, what if he does it? And, like, is this guy, does he have a gun? Is he ready to, like, fire back right away? Like, I was so sure that this was, like, about to be, like, a shootout watching it. It did not happen. I was wrong.
And just while we're on that scene as well, like, Josh Holloway's performance was fantastic. Like Kristin said, like, the little kid in Sawyer, like, he looks so scared, and like, his eyes are welling up and the gun's shaking in his hand. Such a good performance by Josh Holloway.
His hand.
It's a great episode of him. Also, I don't know if we'll get back to it, but also Josh Holloway and Evangeline Lilly's chemistry in this episode is so good. Like, those scenes that they have together all throughout this episode, like the I Never, and just how much fun Kate's having. We talked about Saeed being sassy with Sawyer. Like, Kate's having so much fun just winding Sawyer up as well. Like, their dynamic in this episode is fantastic too.
I really like the deeper meanings in the episode, especially in these parts where, like, the people that you're around and the people that are in your family or the people that make decisions that affect you regardless if you're even a part of them. Like Jack was not a part of the fact that his dad decided not to call him. But if he had, maybe things would have gone different. He wouldn't have ended up on the island. And that's double because Sawyer went there to kill Sawyer, Frank, whoever, Shrimp Man. But his actions still sent him to the thing. And it wasn't him who actually sent him there. It was Gibbs. Again, somebody else putting him in a position to go to the island and also like changing his entire life. Still with the same with Jack and his father, like had his dad picked up the phone, maybe things would have come out differently for him.
Yeah.
That whole scene is one of my favorite scenes. Like maybe my favorite scene we've had so far, like up to this point in the show, between Kristin and Sawyer. It's just so heartbreaking. And knowing that Jack has so much unresolved issues with his dad, and that he could have, and this all comes back to Jack's dad telling Jack he doesn't have what it takes. And in the end, we're presuming this is the last night of his life. This maybe he had another night, but this could have been the night that he ended up dying. And in the end, he didn't have what it takes. He didn't have what it takes to just call his son and say, "You were right. Like, I'm sorry. And I don't blame you." And like how much that would have meant to Jack and how much could have been avoided. And like, this is, I think, the second or third time I've cried on this rewatch. Like that scene just got me bad because like knowing how hurt Jack is and like how much that scene would have meant to him. And not to get that, like, man, there's so much good character stuff in this episode. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too, is that there's so, I can't imagine, obviously that goes back to their relationship, their entire relationship, Kristin and Jack, because I mean, you know that it will be fine. You know that it will be, like, this is what Jack needs to hear. You know that all will be well, but you can't pick up the phone. I think, again, it just goes to show the complexity between, and the dynamic between Kristin and Jack here, because, like everybody said, literally so many things could have been avoided here if you just picked up the stupid payphone. Mm-hmm. But the turmoil that Kristin's still dealing with. But also, I feel like it's a little unfair of Kristin as well, is because he's obviously totally fine with this. To not, like, what's the harm in telling Jack that it's okay? I'm okay. I just like, hey, I'm in Australia. I'm totally fine. Thank you for doing that. But I'm gonna need some time. Like, I still need some me time. I want to sit here and drink in Australia, but like, we're good. Like, you know what I mean? So it's almost a little bit of selfishness on Christian's part again, that like he's done Jack's whole life, and that's so frustrating.
Yeah, it is
an embarrassment.
Or
shame and embarrassment, I think, as well.
Yeah. No, listen, it's an incredibly well done scene, like acted, shot, written, like all of it. It's all very well done. It makes me hate Kristin so much. You are ruining Jack's life and you're ruining Sawyer's life because he ends up giving Sawyer like the bad advice, because that's just what he's full of. He was full of bad parental advice when Jack was a kid, and it just makes me so angry at him. And like, props to the actor, props to the writer, extremely well done. And like, and yes, it is heartbreaking because this is like, there are actual people who are like this, and this is what trauma does to you. This is what alcoholism does to you. Like, yes to all of that, but at the same time, Christian, stop ruining people's lives.
Yeah. For sure.
I totally see that take on it. Like, but this was the first scene where I actually felt some sort of sympathy for Kristin as well. Like, up until now, he's been such a hard character. Like, it's such a difficult scene. I totally agree. Like,
I definitely feel a sympathy too. But like, it's like it heightens both reactions for me. Of just
that's kind of where I'm at. Is like you feel that hurt from him. Like, you feel everything that Christian's feeling in this moment. But you're also like, oh my God, Kristin, pick up the freaking phone. Like,
pick up the phone.
Like, so easy to solve.
Yeah, it's
don't
like,
give Sawyer the bad advice. Like, God.
Also,
Christian.
This is the one and only time you guys will ever hear me criticize Sawyer, so here you go. Sawyer, go pick up the phone for him and hand him the freaking phone. Like, obviously he is having this, like, all Sawyer had to do was go over and be like, here's the phone, call, like, what's the number? You know what I mean? Like, that was my, like, you obviously see that he's having issues with this, and he's telling you to go ease your suffering. You know what's going to ease his. So this is a moment that Sawyer could have said, all right, what's the number I'm going to call for you? You know what I mean?
Right.
Easy peasy. So Sawyer, you suck, but also you're hot and I love you. Moving on.
Also get the Sawyer sucking later because he could have also helped
All
the
right.
situation along.
Okay. All right. Let's not. But also let's get to the end of the episode here. We see that Saeed and Charlie have had their talk and things like that. We've seen Sawyer now somewhat find the boars here, but he finds a baby boar. Kate is all kinds of pissed. She's like, you're an asshole. Like, leave that baby alone. She walks off and storms off. This is where we get our final flashback where we do see that Sawyer has come back and it's nighttime. It's raining. Frank is taking out the trash and he yells Sawyer to Frank turning around to get shot. He walks up to him and Frank's like, what'd you do this for? Like, what is happening or whatever? And Sawyer's like, well, here, I got a letter for you, and starts to read it. And he goes, what are you talking about, Sawyer? And he goes, didn't you used to go by Sawyer? And he's like, no, tell Hibbs I would have paid. Like, this is, and he's like, wait, what? And he finds out that this has all been a lie, that Hibbs have set him up to go and kill somebody that owed him money. Yeah. It was never Sawyer. It was never the OG Sawyer, all these things. And he just killed him. But we do get our line from Frank that says it'll come back around. To then which we get back onto the island, we see Sawyer come face to face with this boar that he's been chasing, that he feels is after him. They have a stare down. And again, we see Sawyer go back into this little kid thing of like, gosh, like, I want to kill you so bad, but I can't. It's obviously he's having that parallel between him and Frank. To which he doesn't shoot the boar. We see Kate kind of come off in the distance there, and he looks there and he goes, it's just a boar, whatever, let's go back to camp. Like, he's so defeated. He just spent so much time chasing this boar that he doesn't end up killing. Yeah. We do see that Charlie goes back up to Claire and he's like, how about that walk? And I'm like, oh, thank God, Charlie. Like, I'm glad you got your Ethan crap out of the way because it was ruining you. And thank you for taking the walk with the sweet pregnant chick. Mm-hmm. And then we also do see, I don't want to bring it up, but I will because it's kind of a dick move from Sawyer. We see him go and give the gun to Jack. And they are obviously talking about other things. Jack says that's why the Red Sox will never win the series. And Sawyer's like, ding, 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 light bulb moment. Wait, what? Okay, your dad, was he a doctor too? And all these things. And to realize that Jack and Kristin Kristin's the dad of, Jack. But then Jack's like, why do you want to know about my dad? He's like, no reason.
Don't ask me anything personal.
Yeah, right. But then Sawyer goes, well, no reason. End of episode. Listen, I know everybody's about to just come down on my dude for not sharing this information, but I love Sawyer, so be kind. That's all I'm gonna say. And yes, he could have told him, but also Sawyer's dealing with a lot. He just came to terms with the boar. He's having his own moments here. All right, so all right, just be kind. I'll let you guys.
He's
I'll
also
let you guys on my man for a minute.
He's also dealing with a lot of similar issues to Kristin when Kristin wouldn't call Jack. So like he gets the why, I don't know. I think he kind of he gets now oh wait, now I know why this man didn't call his son, and maybe I shouldn't tell him either. Right? Not I'm never going to, but that immediate reaction of oh, I kind of get why he didn't. Maybe I shouldn't.
I'm not actually going to go super hard on Sawyer.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. You could ease Jack's suffering so much in that moment, and he chooses not to. But I think, again, it comes back to the flaw in Sawyer as a person, where he struggles to connect with people. And he almost doesn't want to connect with people and be vulnerable with people. Like, he doesn't want to have that conversation with Jack. That's a serious conversation because he's just the wisecracking
That's
like,
too
dick
nice.
of the island.
That's
It's
too nice to be to Jack.
But it would benefit him so much as well to open up to Jack in that way. But he just can't do it. It sucks. I wish he could.
Personally, I kind of wish that they planted the seeds for the Sawyer Christian meeting in Australia and then waited a little bit longer to bring it up inside the episode, like on the island. It was a little too fast. So I like the fact that Sawyer didn't say anything about it.
Jake, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Gregg on that because like I feel like it would have been way too soon for him to like, kind of reveal things to Jack. I feel like he's still processing like what he just learned, and like it wouldn't do him any good or Jack any good to like just all of a sudden spout this information out at that moment. I'm sure it'll come out, and maybe it'll help them, have a good relationship. But I mean, we can hope. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
I'm very impressed you guys didn't come hard for my man. See, this is how you know that Sawyer is the best character ever of all time, because he's still an asshole, he's still a dick, he does horrible things, but you still love him where you can't even get mad at him. So this is why.
Agree to disagree on the best character of Lost, I think, Kristin.
No, I think if this was if this was like some kind of final meeting and Sawyer like refused to like out of like a satisfaction to like not give Jack something, and like it was malicious, like I think yes, fuck Sawyer. But I don't think that's what it is. I think it's more complicated than that. And they're still on the island together. Like that's a thing that we know now. Like we know that this conversation happened, and so now it's a matter of, is Sawyer ever going to reveal this? So for those reasons, I'm not as mad at Sawyer for it. I do think you guys bring up an interesting point about like if this is kind of told out of order, like if like we saw like Jack say the thing about the Sox win the series, and we had seen Sawyer go back and kill him, and then we saw the flashback to him meeting Christian in the bar. Like, how would that be for like ending it that way? That might be more interesting, but oh well, that's not the way it was, so it's fine.
I agree. I like the fact that it gave more depth to Sawyer's character as well, because you don't really know his reasoning behind why he didn't say anything yet, and like that's again character development. You gotta love it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think again, I will never hate on a Sawyer episode, so I quite enjoyed this. The only pet peeve I have is that he should have been shirtless more, but that's okay.
This poor man is a real man when he's not on the show. Like he needs to be able to eat.
I know, I've met him.
Right? Like he needs to not have to have like perfect shirtless body at all times.
I mean, I didn't ask him to take his shirt off when I met him in person, although I should have, but I did not.
Security was there.
Security was there. I would have been taken out. Jake, do you want to get to our favorite and least favorite?
Yeah, so least favorite, I'm gonna say Hibbs, just because, he got an innocent man killed because he didn't give him money. So that just sucks. Favorite character. I'm gonna go with Saeed again this episode, just because again, sassy Saeed just worked for me. And again, I feel like Saeed is just like the most useful person on the island and the smartest person on the island. So yeah, I'll go with Saeed for those reasons.
I was gonna have to say I'm sure Sawyer's gonna get picked, so I thought I was gonna throw mine around a little bit more. So my favorite character of the episode is gonna be Shannon. She's the greatest character.
Are you out of your mind?
She didn't even show up.
She doesn't need to show up. She's amazing.
My god, I hate you so much.
The sheer presence of Shannon was felt. It's not Shannon. It's not fine.
I love that you pulled that joke because I was actually going to pull that joke on you when I did my least favorite character. So we're on the same page here, Michael.
It's such a. I'm gonna go. My favorite character of the episode is Kate. I'm sure Sawyer's gonna get his mentions before too long, but I really love the dynamic of Sawyer and Kate in this episode. I just think this is a real fun episode for the fun side of Kate as well, not like the serious side or the lying side or convict side or whatever. She was just really fun, and she was really likable in this episode, and her and Sawyer have such a good chemistry. I think it's easy to focus on Sawyer in this episode, but it's the two of them together that make this episode so great. And for my least, I agree, it's Hibbs. What a piece of shit. Like, using this guy's childhood trauma of his parents dying in front of him to get him to go settle a debt with him across the world. Like, dick move counter. Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding.
So I chose Hugo for my favorite of the episode because he's so compassionate and awesome. He's like the big lovable buddy that everybody should have. And in the past 5 minutes, I've changed it from Hibbs to Christian because he's such a piece of doo-doo parent that you can't not hate him.
Very fair.
Let's save Kristin so she can talk about Sawyer last. No, I mean, I was going to honorable mention Saeed and Kate for the reasons you guys said. Sassy Saeed is very funny. I think Kate gets a lot of hate typically from the fandom for just running away. And she's not just running away here. So she's actually showing her character. But I mean, the best character is Sawyer. He's the most complex. He gets the most time to shine. He is the best character of the episode. He has the most choices to make, and sometimes makes the right ones and sometimes makes the wrong ones, and it's messy. But he's a very complicated person, and I appreciate his character being there. Least favorite, I was always going to go with Christian. I like I said, I completely respect everything about how that scene was done. And yes, Hibbs also sucks but Hibbs is a con man. That's what do you expect from a con man? Christian, Christian, you managed to ruin two people's lives at the same time. Because then he dies and he never tells Jack the thing he needs to tell him to ease his suffering. And he also gives Sawyer the terrible advice to go ruin his own life by killing someone. So I respect the character, but I don't like the character. Christian is my least favorite. All right, Kristin, tell us all the reasons you love Sawyer.
Well, we don't have time for that. We'd be here all night. But no, yes, favorite character is of course my man Sawyer. The complexity that we get out of Sawyer here, he's not this asshole. I mean, he is, but he's not this asshole. He is still this very vulnerable, scared little boy. We get so much complexity from him in this episode. You see him trying to be cutesy and fun, but also he's tormented and shattered. There's just so much raw, just complex stuff that you get from Sawyer in this episode, and I love him.
It's easy to write him off in the beginning as just a jerk, but you realize he's so much more.
Yes, he's so much more. Plus, he was shirtless. Thank you, Jesus. But it's so funny that Michael and Kevin brought this up because my least favorite character of this episode is Kate. And the reason why it is Kate is not because she was flirting with my man, but
that is what it is.
It's not, because here's the problem I have with Kate in this moment. Obviously, especially in the I never section, okay, here's reason number one. He's trying to be fun and cute and flirty and let's drink and have some fun. She's the first person to bring up the dick, just to be an asshole. He's obviously experiencing some horrible. Don't shake your finger at me. He's obviously
finger at you.
He's going through some stuff. He's trying to be fun, and she's got to bring up all this trauma. Let's just have a drink and have fun. We also instead, the moment that we see him wake up and all this stuff's all over the ground, she's making fun of him in this moment. Again, the man is going through some stuff. Maybe help pick his stuff up off the ground instead of being my bag's untouched. Rude. And
this is just because Shannon wasn't in the episode, so you're just trying.
This is literally not. This is literally not. But also, I was gonna pull the joke on Michael about Shannon, so it's funny that he did it to me first. But no. But I just felt that she kind of, as much as she is along the journey for him, she's not making it easy, and she knows that he's going through some stuff. And he even mentioned, hold on, he even mentioned to her that you wanted to hang out with me because I'm the only one that gets you on this island. Yeah, you're the only one that you can be real with, and you're being an asshole to him. I feel like those are some very dick moves in there. So yes, Kate is like,
he was being an asshole to her the way he
Kevin.
said that. He was being an asshole to her the way he said that. He was being an asshole to her to say she had never been to college the way he said that. Like, he said things in a very disrespectful way to her, and she laughed it off, and then she got him back. And they're equals, and she's not talking down to him. And like, yeah, if I was with Sawyer and my bag is perfectly fine and his bag is ripped apart by the boars, I'm gonna say, haha, what'd you do to the boar? Like, no.
rude.
I gotta agree with Kristin on Kate being a dick, only because the only reason she went to Sawyer and went to play or get the gun from him and play the game and everything was because Jack said he didn't want her to owe him anything. That's the only reason she went for carte blanche, so that way she could be on Sawyer.
She's a horrible person.
Playing him.
She's not a horrible person.
She's a horrible person.
You know what?
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Greg, for being the most rational out of this bunch to agree.
No, this is ridiculous. Do you know what Kate was with Sawyer? She was playful with him and she was sarcastic and she took the piss out of him. Do you know why? Because that's what Sawyer does with everyone.
That's what Sawyer does to everyone.
It's my turn to speak, Kristin.
Right.
When Sawyer does that to everyone, Sawyer is sarcastic, Sawyer takes the piss, and you have no issue with it. Kate has some fun with Sawyer, and fuck you, Kate.
Because
where's the Michael was right counter? Ding, 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 ding.
No. There's no counter here. That is an inaccurate counter. That is not true. She is not doing the sarcastic stuff. She is being unnecessarily cruel in that moment.
He was doing the same thing.
He did it after she did it.
No, he started before her.
No,
he started before her.
He did not.
This is insane.
And that's what he does all the time.
Comments below.
We're never going to agree.
Michael and Kevin or Team Kristin and Greg.
That's fine. We're never going to agree. It's fine. It's totally fine. Greg obviously was the rational one and agreed with me because it's the correct way to do it. So let's get to our episode ranking.
No. Jake, you can break the tie.
So what are the options? Just to
is Kate a dick or not?
Kate sucks. So Kate is the right person.
Now was Kate being a dick? Was Kate being a bigger dick than Sawyer?
No, I mean I think Sawyer was being the biggest dick, to be honest. So
there we go.
But we love what
that was logic.
So it's fine.
But you expect
you all didn't watch the episode. Thank you. It is a normal Sawyer moment.
Kate was being uncharacteristically.
All right, episode ranking.
All right, where do we stand, Michael?
0.
I had it ready, and then we went on a whole rant.
Well, listen, I'm sorry that I had to talk shit about your girl, but gotta be called out.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start calling out. I'm gonna start making Sawyer my least favorite episode. My least favorite episode.
That's fine. At least I had a reason. Yours just.
I will find a reason.
Yeah, there's no reason.
Okay, let's steady the ship. We've got Walkabout at 1, The Pilot at 2, Confidence Man at 3, All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues at 4, House of the Rising Sun at 5, Solitary at 6, Raised by Another at 7. Homecoming at 8, White Rabbit at 9, Tabula Rasa at 10, Special 11, so on and so on.
Okay, so for Outlaws, it was a pretty good character episode. I would say I'll probably put it at number 7, right under Solitary. I feel like it has some really good stuff in there, and some pretty good reveals, and I just think the top 6 I feel like I enjoyed more, and I feel like I thought those character episodes were just done just a bit better. So
that was exactly my placement. we got things back on track. Look at us. Who'd have thought? Not me.
Yeah, I was going to say low in the top 10, like that, 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there, just because it is really good. It's very well done. We get a lot of from the very beginning, we see that like heartbreaking opening that we like is Sawyer that we know from the letter. Like there is a lot of really good in it, but there is also a lot of like I want to say negative, but not negativity. You know, like there is a lot of like yeah, Sawyer did decide to kill this man, and he did get played in it, and like it's not what's the word is it like it. I like the more like uplifting stuff. It's like as much as I don't like John Locke, I like Walkabout because like the overcoming, like the positivity of it. Like this is a little more negative. So it's still really good, but yeah, I would say like 79 in there.
Yeah. I would probably go 8, 9, just because it was a great episode. There was lots of information put out, but like the flashbacks were great. They were way better than the last one. But the information from the actual storyline, it was kind of like a hard pause because, Ethan just died and now we're chasing a boar through the woods. So it's still going to be low because of that. But it's a nice breath of fresh air before we get into something more serious, hopefully.
All right.
Yeah, so I mean, look at this. We can all actually agree to something. I do agree with all of you that that's probably where I would put it in the like a 7, 8, 9 area. And so I am fine with any of the spots that you guys would put that. I agree with Gregg. I maybe wouldn't put it at I maybe wouldn't put it at 7. I maybe would probably put it at the 8 because of the stallness that we get, like of oh my god, Ethan just got shot and that like what now? I do appreciate that they at least, unlike some of the other episodes that we've seen, they at least show that he's being buried. So like it's like he didn't just disappear. But yeah, so that's probably where I'd put it. It's like 8.
I think the fixed.
Knocking Riz by another down, but we are knocking White Rabbit further down. So new number 8. Everyone happy with that?
Yeah. That works. All right. Well, that is episode 16, Outlaws. So these guys will get into the spoilers. And with that, we will see you next time on the Tribe of Nerds.
But John Locke.
All right, we are here for another segment of Tribe of Nerds After Jake. This is where we spill all the tea and all the spoilers for Lost. So if you've not seen it in its entirety, not just the season, like the actual full series, leave now. Go. Run away because we're going to spoil a bunch of stuff. Go, go, go. This is your time. If you haven't left yet, like I'm giving you an extra couple seconds. Okay, you should be gone. All right. Sawyer. Love him. Love that man. Love that man. I want to jump right into this because this is how the episode ended. We see that Sawyer did not tell Jack. We brought it up in the podcast, like kind of not a great move, but we understand why he did it. But eventually he does reveal that in one of the most powerful scenes. We see that coming up. We're going to get there eventually here in the finale. But he goes and reprieves Jack of all of that burden that he's been holding on, and you just see all of it just kind of drain out of Jack. That scene is so powerful when Sawyer finally gives him that moment of like, your dad he loved you, he wanted to call you, he was dealing with some stuff, so he does eventually tell Jack. So yay Sawyer for doing the right thing. He was also shirtless in that scene as well, so yay for me.
I'm gonna cry so hard at that one. Like it's my favorite scene between Sawyer and Jack in the entire run of the show. It's so good. It's one that I'll often kind of go back to just like on YouTube or something. It's one of the best scenes of the show. It's so good. I can't wait to get to that. And yeah, it's set up so perfectly here for that amazing payoff in the finale.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't wait for that scene, even though it's gonna wreck me.
Right. I said this when we weren't recording. I don't know if I'm prepared to actually have myself recorded watching the finale because I'm going to be ugly crying throughout the whole thing. It'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
It'll be fine. I also want to bring up the whispers. I know we've briefly talked about them before when we were talking about it with Saeed, but the whispers play a huge part in the series as a whole. Not just with Saeed and Sawyer here. We see that the whispers, are with Shannon. We see that with the tailies, like the whispers are the others. Whether we think that every time that we hear the whispers are the others, that's to be, that's I think up for interpretation. I don't think that this was the others in this moment with Sawyer. But it does, like, we see when we get to the tailies, they're like, oh, that's them. Like, if you hear them, you gotta go. Like, it's a whole thing. So the whispers do play a huge part in what we're going to be getting set up for with the others and the tailies and all that type of stuff too. So it was a huge thing.
Aren't the whispers also sometimes the man in black?
See, no, my read on the whispers was that it's revealed in season 6 that the whispers are the souls of those that aren't able to pass on, that are trapped on the island. I thought the whisper, maybe the others kind of harness the whispers in a way, but they're not really in control of them. That's not them. But I think it's maybe them. I feel like the souls of the people trapped on the island are often trying to warn people about dangerous scenarios. So they often come up when the others are around or when something's about to go down, because the whispers are trying to be like, hey, the danger's about to come. You might be about to join us.
Well, I said that wrong. I'm glad you guys caught me on that. I meant like it's associated with the others, not that it is the actual that. So I apologize for misspeaking, but yes, that's what I meant. Is that
because
they think the whispers are the others, so they associate the others as the whispering. So
I've only rewatched the show through one time. Like I watched it live and I rewatched it once, and I thought, like, I kind of didn't believe when Michael says he's like a trapped soul. I kind of thought that was just the man in black.
No, because at that point, after Jacob dies, the man in black can't change his form anymore. He's trapped as love.
So, I'm gonna have to pay attention. Like that is a thing that I have like not had a chance to like pay attention to in a rewatch, that I just kind of have chalked up to like, don't believe this person.
I mean, I've rewatched the show like 10, 15 times, and there's still stuff every time I pick up. Like, that's what's so great about it. Like, you need several rewatches to even scratch the surface of this show.
Yeah, we say that every time. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, we brought up, the black and white t-shirt from last episode, or even the police officer with Shannon and Boone having the one light and one dark eye. Like, I never, and we've joked a million times of like,
I didn't see it in this rewatch. Like you pointed out to
but I mean, we joke all the time that we've rewatched this 108 times because that's, our joke for what's coming up. But like, legit, that's what Michael, I love. We say it all the time. This is why I love Lost. Like, there's so much detail in the show that you still pick up things.
Yeah, and like I love that thing of paying attention to a specific thing. Like I've the last time I rewatched, I really paid attention to the Man in Black, and I really wanted to focus on how that character was throughout the entire 6 seasons, because he's there in the background. And Kevin, you pointed out another thing that you're paying attention to this time, and I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, no, the thing that just kind of, I'm not even purposely paying attention, but the thing that's standing out to me is like how much Hurley is set up to eventually take over. Like, in this episode, we see him like recognizing like, oh, like you're dealing with PTSD, and like, who can I connect you to like help you deal with that? And we've seen that a couple of times this season where like he tries to organize people and he tries to get things done, even though he is not he's not the Jack, he's not the Sawyer, he's not going out on a mission to go, kidnap people, and like he's not doing that stuff. But he's definitely still a leader. And we're seeing that this time through, which now, like, I remember watching the show the first time, and like when they like have Jack, Sawyer, Kate, and Hurley come, right? When the others want those four to come, I was like, why Hurley? But like, well, clearly like they're seeing the thing in Hurley that like I'm catching this time.
Yeah, I always thought that too always was like, Hurley seems like the oddball out here. I'm not entirely sure why we're needing that. Gregg, you were going to say something too before Kevin was saying that.
Right. So the whispers, I didn't realize until probably my third or fourth watch through that's what they were. I completely associated them with the others, and I didn't even notice the Michael saying he was stuck there. I thought that meant that the others were also people who were stuck there at one point. Like, I had it completely wrong, at least the first time. And I really like Hurley, obviously. He's great. The fact that he could visually tell there was something wrong with Charlie and put out the fact that it was PTSD is a great like seed being planted for his later episodes where he actually does deal with lots of mental issues and has other people around him that may be dealing with the same thing. So that's great.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah.
No, and I think we kind of, at least the first time I watched it, I think I kind of dismissed him as kind of like comedic relief and just kind of crazy because he's in the crazy house, right? Like, so I dismissed him a lot the first time, and even kind of the second time. But yeah, I definitely noticed more like what he does, and like, yeah, he was in an institute, so he probably does recognize PTSD because he was probably around it a lot. So good for Hurley.
You mentioned as well, like Kate, Sawyer, Jack, and Hurley are those four at the pier. That is also the four that are at the campfire right at the end as the final candidates left to have that leadership position. And yet paying attention to Hurley, knowing how ultimately at the very end of the show, how important he is going to be, it's such a rewarding thing to focus on because it is more planted than I realized. Because I agree, like when I first watched the show, I thought, like, I love Hurley, like I could accept that as the way they go, but I thought it was a bit out of left field. Like, yeah, it kind of makes sense, but they didn't really focus on it. But they did plant the seeds a lot more than we realized. And I love watching Hurley's arc throughout all of this because that leadership quality is there. It's like we mentioned in the golf course episode where Jack's like, I've been trying to get everyone to feel safe. Hurley builds a golf course and everyone feels safe. Like Hurley's the one that's leading, but no one's really noticing it.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. I also want to bring up, I know that we kind of briefly talked about this in a previous episode because we are, know about Locke and had the connection between Locke and Sawyer being Locke's dad is the actual OG Sawyer. He is the OG of the OGs. He is not a fake OG. He is the real deal. And so Sawyer does finally get his moment to shine of killing the man that he's been wanting to kill his entire life. So that is coming up. Also, like, we already know that he is like the worst of the worst, but even still, like, right before he's about to die, he's still like just horrendous. Like read the letter and he's like, I don't care what's in the letter. I don't care. Like, so what? She was, she was abroad, whatever. Like, you're mean. You are so God. We already know all the things that he does to Locke and things like that. This guy is true evil. True evil.
He deserves everything he gets.
Most characters on Lost have like some redeeming qualities. Like Anthony Cooper has 0 redeeming qualities. He is literally pure evil. There's not one nice thing about him that you can say.
He's worse than Susan.
That's hard to do. That's hard to do.
Even Ben calls him a piece of crap at one point, doesn't he?
He says a lot. He says a lot. Only other thing I'm going to bring up, unless you guys have anything else, the numbers. We talked about the numbers. There's only one mention of it here, and Gregg, you talked about it earlier. He brings up that Ethan was shot 4 times, so that is our 4. But I didn't catch anything else. So if anybody else did, I would love to hear. But I think that was the only time that we actually heard a number.
I don't think I heard any other ones.
Was Sawyer 8 when his parents died?
There was something about that.
I don't know, but did they mention
possible.
it?
No, but that is possible. He's around there.
Yeah,
right.
He looks young. Yeah. So, but yeah, with that, I mean, do you guys have any other spoiler? I know we try not to do too many because then we're going to talk about them again. Like, there are some of the things that we're, already talked about that we're coming back around. But is there anything else you guys
come back around?
Come back around. Do you like it? Gregg?
I got one thing. So the whole Hurley joking about Ethan coming back from the dead, like when you think about the Whispers, it's kind of
the Whispers, the Man in Black's ability to take over his bodies. Yeah.
Right. Like that. Like, I like the fact that Jake caught it, but thinks it's just a funny dig that he threw in there, and it's not anything that's like potentially a spoiler for anything later on.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was all.
For sure. Well, as always, if you find other things that we've missed, definitely comment, but make sure spoiler so Jake doesn't read anything. Like, comment, subscribe, all the things. And if you have any questions you want us to talk about on this podcast, like, let's do it. Send them our way and we will happily address them. So with that, we are ending our spoiler section for the latest episode. See you guys next time.
Bye.